Izam is an 18-year-old machine learning engineer from the state of Kerala, India. After 12th, he never went to a college. Right now, he's working as a ML engineer in Bangalore. The purpose of this conversation is not to say that college degrees are useless, but it is to convey a message on something which is much more important, probably 10 times more important than your college degree, and that thing is online credibility. Izam built a strong online credibility through his LinkedIn profile. I know you are having a lot of questions right now. Don't worry, we are going to go over all the details in this conversation. Izam, I see that you're sitting in your Bangalore office. You are an 18-year-old machine learning engineer. So let us know, what is your current role and responsibilities, and what do you do at your job?
So I just got entered into the job. It's roughly 1 week, and my role is machine learning engineer. So it's basically mostly related to generative AI, LLM, fine tuning those things. So I'm currently holding that particular role.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a new job. It has been 1 week, so you're kind of settling down, and you'll probably have
Yeah.
more concrete tasks. But it is a full-time
Yeah.
machine learning position, and achieving that at such a young age is indeed something remarkable. So you
Thank you.
completed your 12th grade, and after that you did not go to a college. Okay. So can you
Yes.
tell us that story, because you are from India and usually you will face a lot of resistance from your parents. So did you also face that kind of resistance when you decided not to go to college after 12th?
Yeah, so the story starts after my 10th, I guess. I got a laptop back in the day. So I started exploring a lot of things in that, and it include watching movies and doing web development, app development. And in that exploring, I found out this machine learning. And I'm particularly curious in that because it's like predicting the future. At that time, I was taking some data from Kaggle and I was predicting with just simple linear regression, and it's like a magical to me. So after 2 years I've been trying all those things, and after plus two I decided to start my career on this machine learning. And at that time I figured out that there is a lot of job opportunities is there, like data analysis and data engineering, ML engineering and all. So I'm like more into coding part. I love to code. So I decided to go to ML engineering. So that's the whole story. And at first I watched a lot of videos, like a lot of plays. That's the primary step that I've taken in order to learn this ML. And later I get into GitHub and Kaggle. And in these days, I'm reading a lot of research papers. That's the main part of my job, like
Hmm.
reading research papers and implementing that as an ML engineer. So that's the whole story. So
Okay.
after my plus two, it took 1 year to land this particular job. In this 1 year, I've tried various internships and all.
Hmm. Okay.
That's pretty much.
So how about your parents? But did your parents not say that, okay, no, you need to stop this and go to college?
No, no, actually, at first there is some resistance into it because they, of course, loves me and they know, like in their view, the degree is really important and everybody have to have that. So what I've said that I am going to do this for 1 year. If nothing working out, I can go to college in the next year. By the time after completing plus two, I was 17, and at that time also all of my friends are 18. So even if I wasted 1 year, there will be a continuation for sure. So
Okay.
I just told them about that and decided to do this.
So age-wise, you were a little younger than your classmates in your 12th. So in your 12th, you were 17, your friends were 18. So you, after 12th, I think you joined some internship, which turned out to be some kind of training program. It was not really an internship, right? So
Yeah, it's not an internship. It's more like a guidance. They give some tasks, and at a particular interval, they will review it. So we have to learn on our own. And by the time I explored a lot of things in the ML as well, like I figured out GitHub and open source contribution at that time. So yeah, that's
Okay, amazing. So just to summarize, uh, from 10th, your all these interests started, and you in 11 and 12th, you started learning machine learning, etc., from various resources. Can you specify like what kind of resources on internet did you use for your ML learning?
So at first, I thought that when I watch, if I watch the 10 hours video, I'll get a job. That is my initial thought. But after watching a couple of videos, I understood that it's a vast area and I have to learn a lot for this. And if I'm not going to college, on the other hand, if I'm trying to get a job, on the other hand, there will be a guy who have a degree and who have an experience. I have to compete with him. So at first I watched playlist of like in the code basics also. I figured out code basics, and at first I watched the ML playlist. And at the time I didn't understood the deep learning part. I watched it, but still I didn't get all the concepts. And at the time I remember watching Krishnaik's video. He also doing a lot of work into it. And later I moved into more like blogs and all, like more of the advanced stuffs are in the blogs and official documentation. If I got a task in the company or if I'm exploring anything, rather than going to a video by default, I will use official documentation. But at first it's not a feasible way. Like it's really hard to read the official documentation and like reading the whole stuff. Now I'm comfortable with anything.
Exactly. I was going to say that you have developed that maturity that you can read API documentation and figure things out. But initially, it was all these YouTube channels and blogs that you used for your learning. Okay, so Izam, after 12th grade, you joined this training institute. You continued there for 1 year. Can you talk more about that training experience during that 1 year? Were you going to that institute learning? Were there teachers or you were doing self-learning? What was the mode of education there?
So they are basically e-learning providers, but they don't have any teachers. We have to learn on our own. Each student have to learn on their own. But each interval, they will have a review which conducted and they'll basically check some things. So it's more like that, and we can consider as a guidance. But
understood. So after 12th, you went to this institute for 1 year, where they provided a guidance, and then you did a lot of self-study. But after you finished that program, that training program for 1 year, how did you manage to get an interview call? Because when you started applying for jobs, I'm pretty sure you would have faced rejections because you did not have a degree.
So in this case, the current company is not the first company that have interviewed me, and I got other offers as well. So around 2 months ago, I started applying into jobs, and by the time also some of the companies are reaching out to me also. Like they'll see my LinkedIn or GitHub and they'll get impressed with that, and the HR will contact me. And in some companies, they'll ask for degree, and I'll just say, I'm just 18 years old. I don't have a degree. And some companies take it is as an advantage, and some companies see that as a disadvantage. Like some companies, they think that, oh, he's very young, he can work very hard. He put a lot of effort into this process, so he can work really hard on here also. So they take as an advantage. But on the other hand, there are some companies, most of the companies are taking this as a disadvantage, which is they'll think that, oh, he skipped the college and he's he's only a +2 student, he cannot do anything. So that's the whole. And when it comes to interviews, I had around 10 interviews, and like while in around 2 months, and I cracked few. And I plan to join on another company. So at that time, the current company's interview happened, and I cracked it's a decent amount of package. So I decided to join here.
Okay. Now see, we are in 2024 May. Job market is bad.
Yeah.
And you got 10 interview calls in 2 months and you cracked 2 jobs. I get a lot of message from the people saying that they have a bachelor degree, master's degree, and they have applied into 200 job posting and they're not getting a single interview call. So can you tell me the secret? Like, how did you manage to get all these interview calls?
So when it comes to applying also, I've applied more than 100 or thousands. I lost the count because at the time I have to have a job. I have some financial struggle as well. So I have to find a job. So I've applied a lot, and in LinkedIn also you can reach out to each recruiter. And
Hmm.
if the interviews are not scheduled, it doesn't mean that your approaching is bad. You have to
Hmm.
build a profile first. Like most
Hmm.
of the, if you're asking a person on LinkedIn, most probably they'll check our profile at first.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if we are adding our GitHub into it, they'll check that also.
Hmm.
And the future interview call or whatsoever will happen because of that. So
Hmm.
if you are not getting that particular interview call, you have to focus on our journey and we have to figure out where is wrong. If you want, you can check out my LinkedIn and GitHub. Why you can understand that why that I got this interview calls, and I put a lot of effort into this also. And like around 1 year ago, I was just nothing. Like I know a lot of things in ML, but my social profiles aren't great. My GitHub or LinkedIn is not great. So at that
Okay.
time, I posted a lot of things in LinkedIn, and I've done a lot of open source contributions as well.
All right. So, Izam, you talked about your LinkedIn profile. I have just shared your LinkedIn profile here on the screen. And I see you have 7,000 followers. Like at 18, getting 7,000 follower itself. If I'm looking at this profile as an interviewer, because I also interview people in my company at like and Code Basics, I will be impressed because convincing these people to follow you definitely requires some skills. And I see that you are regularly posting. See, all these posts are getting even higher engagement. So that is good. And you have mentioned your GitHub profile, which was
Yeah,
probably the top reason you got interview call. Okay. So when I click on your
yeah,
GitHub profile, I see a nice professional GitHub profile, and you have contributed to many repositories, out of which this is probably the top repository. This is the RagRank tool which you built. And if you look
yeah,
at the layout of source code, for example, I mean, just looking at this itself, you get an idea that this is a very professionally built code. I have come across GitHub profiles where there is not even a README file. Okay, there will be some scattered Python files, whereas you have this source, docs, test. You have like proper see test cases, integration test, unit test. And if I'm looking at your source code as an interviewer, and if I look at some of these files, see, you're using inheritance, you're using Pydantic. The code looks so professional. And an interviewer
yeah,
who is looking at your GitHub profile will definitely get impressed. Okay. So when
yeah,
folks, so people who are watching the video, when we say strong LinkedIn profile, it's not just about picture or having a nice description. Obviously, those things matter, but how strong is your LinkedIn profile? So I see two indications. One is the follower count, and one is this strong GitHub project that you have. All right, so let's move on to that RagRank project. I think that is your main project on GitHub. So can you talk
yeah.
about that project? When did you start, and what does that project do actually?
Okay, it was started around 3 months ago. Back in the days, I was doing in RAG related stuff. If you don't know RAG, which means when it comes to the LLMs, if we want to use our own data into it, there is two main methods are there. One method is fine tuning, and another is RAG models. So in that case, evaluation is actually a problem. If we want to improve our system, we have to evaluate it and we have to make progress. In the case of ML models, we can derive mathematical equation for it, such as precision, recall, and a lot of things are there. And in the traditional transformers also, there are a lot of evaluation metrics are there, ROG, blue score, a lot of things are there. But when it comes to this RAG, it's not efficient in the point of a developer or a user. So by the time I read a couple of research papers such as GPT score, RAGAS, those research papers, I read a couple of research papers, and I decided that I can build a tool which take an advantage of LLM and evaluate it based on that. So internally, I'm using the power of LLM to evaluate that particular model. So at first, my initial thought will be like I have to build this for around 1 or 2 years. So if I build it in a way that low professional way, or if I didn't incorporate with all these standards, most probably another developer can't do anything with this, or I can't build a further a complete open source project. Well, I've read a lot of source code of GitHub, like I've read LangChain source code and all those things, and I have a understanding how these open source libraries are working, what are the coding standards that they are using. So I have built that particular thing, and I'm planning to build that further because it's an actual problem and no other tools are established in this field. A lot of startups are trying to do it, but there is no dominant tool is established.
Okay.
So
Developing
that's
this
pretty much.
project in 2 months is again, it's a remarkable job.
And
So,
yeah, when it comes to the open source world, it's still in beta stage. I've only created the base version of it. So if you are thinking about a library, there will be hundreds of functions and methods. So we can't build that in the initial model. So I've released
understood.
almost I've released 7 version of it. So in further also, I'm planning to like release more versions. So in that, I can find out a lot of issues and solve that, integrate with a lot of tools. So it remain as an open source project.
Perfect. So, Izam, what I'll do is I will connect you with a person, an AI engineer in my company, because
Yeah.
for our US based clients, we are building a lot of rack based system. We are right now building 4 different rack based system for our clients. So we will probably start using this tool. And
Yeah.
when we start using it, we'll have feedback. We want to make some enhancements into the tool. So
Yeah.
my developers can help. And the people who are watching this video right now, there are many AI enthusiasts in Code Basics community. So they will also help you. Okay. So let's discuss
Yeah.
that after this call. But I wish you all the best on this project. I know this project will go a long way because many
Yeah.
businesses and many companies which are building rack system, they find this to be a challenging problem, how to evaluate the
Yeah.
rack system. And your tool is trying to address exactly that. Now, you have a job, you are already working as a full time machine learning engineer, and your friends are enjoying in their college. So, do you envy of them? Like, do you ever want to go to college and enjoy the college days?
To be honest, in my academic days in my school, I used to be enjoy with all of my friends. And after schooling, everybody goes to college. And at first, I felt like, am I wasting my life, or am I not enjoying my life? But when I got the job, or right now, they are looking at me as a great success, and they are taking me as a role model. And some of them are into CS, like some of them are doing BTech, and they was like checking my GitHub, checking my, oh, how did you, when you started? Like they were friends while back in schooling, but I didn't tell anybody that I'm developing this or this. I was just doing it silently. So they have realized that, oh, at that time you were doing
Okay.
this, right? So
So it's
they are
other way,
interested
like
in that.
they
And
envy
I,
you.
yeah, right now. But for the like 1 or 2 years, it's the opposite. So right now, I'm proud of myself as also. So yeah, it's a good moment, like when you get a
Okay.
job, or if,
But you
yeah,
still plan to go to college. You mentioned some online degree, something, right?
yeah, I'm planning to have an online degree because, because of my parents. My parents have a request to me to have an online degree. Otherwise,
Okay.
like
At least
something
have some
terrible
degree.
happen. Yeah,
Okay.
they'll say that if you go to marriage or something, it will be a mistake.
Oh man, you read my
I'm
mind. I
Indian.
was going to say that if you want
Yeah,
to do the traditional arranged marriage, the
yeah,
girls' parents will ask this question, right? Like, okay, what is
yeah.
the
My
degree? And you
parents
tell,
also
no,
have
I'm
that
only 12th
concern.
pass. Okay. So
Yeah.
from marriage perspective, yes, I see the degree is useful. So
Mm.
if there is any 12th grader who wants to build a career in AI, let's say someone in 10th or 11th or 12th who wants to build a career in AI, they will look at you as their role model. So what kind of advice would you have for these folks?
So first of all, don't depend too much on the syllabus. Even if you are taking a degree or whatsoever in a traditional way, it doesn't help you in to get a job or to build a tool that to build like industry professional tools. There is an amazing resource in Google, and in these days, almost all the tools are like child play. We can ask anything to ChatGPT, and we can know about it. Like if there is a complex solution, we can add that. Tell me in a way that a kid can understand. It will tell that. And a lot of YouTube videos is also there. So at first, you don't have to worry about the research papers or blogs or official documentation. You have to understand the base. For that, I guess the best way that I used was YouTube videos. A lot of creators, including Dawal and Krishna Ike is there, and a lot of other guys are doing a lot of effort into this and making this as a like in that video also. I remember back in the days when I see code basics video is like Deval is mentioning that even a high school student can understand this, and literally in high school can no other people are mentioning that, even though they are explaining simply, but like in your videos you are mentioning a lot of times, even a high school student can understand that. So at first it is good, and at a point you have to move on to the official documentation, because when it comes to a job, they will give like I can only say about the ML engineering part. So in ML engineering, the senior or the people in here give some research paper, and we have to figure out the things that needed to done. So the resources are only the official documentations. So along the way, you have to read a lot of research papers, and we have to have a lot of understanding about the coding as well. For me personally, I love open source and GitHub, and so because of that, and I somehow got addicted to that green in the GitHub, that green box. So I somehow tried to be consistent on that. And at first, don't focus too much on the job part, rather than find a fun doing these things, because at first that's the important thing. And a lot of other ways are there. For example, for me personally, I don't like SQL coding that much, but I love coding Python. So in some interviews, some of the guys are like, if it's a data analysis part, they'll ask a lot of SQL question, and I failed in that. But on the other hand, I can crack any hard ML engineering part because I love coding Python. So if you can find these things, like if you can enjoy something out of it, it will be good to do that. Like at the end of the day, a lot of opportunities are there. So that will be my advice.
All right. That's a great advice. A lot of opportunities are there, and just focus on GitHub can be your hero, and do what excites you the most. All right. Izam, that's a great advice. Thank you very much for spending the time for this interview. I know it's a Friday evening. Everybody else in your office has left, and you're still here. You have a great weekend. Thank you very much. And we are going to put Izam's LinkedIn profile in the video description, if you don't mind, Izam, so that people can check it out. Do you have any other like final thoughts?
Not actually. If you can check out my project, because in these days I'm planning to build that further, and I'm figuring a lot of things in that. So if you can check it out, it will be better. If you know, like you can learn what is the RAG and LLM with this particular tools. And I'm planning to build something more out of it. So it will be better if you...
We will specify that GitHub repository, and anybody watching, if you want to contribute to this open source project, if you want to help Izam build more tools, folks, this is an amazing opportunity. You can learn things with Izam, and also you can build your own strong online credibility, which will eventually help you in your career. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.